Good evening and welcome to Estuary TV News. I'm Emma Lingard. On the show, we meet people who volunteer. And my guest in the studio is Paula Grant from Voluntary Action, North East Lincolnshire. But first, it's over to James for the news.
Hello, in the headlines today, hordes of angry residents arrive at a public meeting to hear a planning application for homes in Scartho, and fundraisers get on their bike to raise money for charity this weekend. An outline application to build a controversial 160 home development in Scartho has been refused by North East Lincolnshire Council. More than 100 people turned up to the meeting at Grimsby Town Hall as Sidon's Homes submitted their initial application to the planning committee, so many that many had to stand in the corridor. A representative from the Scartho Action Group and Councillor Alex Baxter both spoke against the development. In the end, the committee voted to refuse the application to celebrations from the public gallery, but some councillors abstained, expressing concerns that unless the refusal is on proper planning grounds, the council may have to pay expensive compensation if their decision is overturned on appeal. Sidon Homes would not comment after the meeting.
Let's get this straight, because people always interpret this as the NIMBYism, which it certainly isn't. There are real problems here. There's problems with the narrowness of the roads because it was an old village. It isn't now, it's all part of the urban area, but it was originally, and those old type roads, which are very narrow, are still there. So there's a problem with that. There's also a problem with you're trying to build on a strategic gap. Now, in this particular area, there's quite a few strategic gaps. In Lincolnshire, you don't have green belts. You have strategic gaps or green wedges. Round here, it's strategic gaps. In Lincoln, it's green wedges. And they are breathing space for the communities, and they shouldn't be built on. Well, we're very pleased that they have rejected it. But remember, this is only round one. It depends on what the reaction from Sidon is, whether they go to appeal or not. We don't know. We have to wait now.
The death of a person found dead in Hull's Queen's Gardens is not being treated as suspicious, police have confirmed. It was found after reports of a possible body in the pond near Wilson Centre at 1:23 p.m. on Tuesday. Police used an underwater search unit to recover the body, which has not yet been formally identified. A file is now being prepared for the coroner. The floor at a swimming pool in Cleethorpes will be relayed for a third time at a cost of £70,000 following concerns raised by residents. Cleethorpes Leisure Centre will close for 5 weeks on June the 15th, and North East Lincolnshire Council have made clear that the taxpayers will not foot the bill. The pool had a £2.5 million refurb earlier in the year, but had to be closed because too many people were slipping. But when it was relayed, people complained it was like sandpaper. Councillor Mick Burnett, portfolio holder for leisure, said that they have done everything they can to avoid another closure, but that the new tile floor will finally match the high specification of the rest of the facility. 5 teenagers have been arrested in connection with 2 robberies in Grimsby, in which the victims were only 12 and 15 years old. At around 6 p.m. on May the 31st, a 12-year-old girl was assaulted, then the offenders took her phone and money in a park on Ainsley Street. On the same street, around an hour later, 2 15-year-old boys were approached by 3 teenagers. They assaulted, and one had his bike and money taken. Police have arrested a 25-year-old man, a boy and a girl aged 14, a boy and a girl aged 13, and a 12-year-old boy, but are still appealing for witnesses. Broughton motorbike racer Gary Johnson was airlifted to hospital after a crash in the Isle of Man TT Superstock race. He suffered a broken collarbone and cracked a vertebrae in his neck, but his team, Smith's Triumph, tweeted that he was winding up the nurses, so is in good spirits. A 20-year-old man was detained by members of the public after trying to steal a bike from outside a gym on Clough Road on Tuesday. Police were called just before 8 p.m. and arrested the man on arrival. Grimsby's Freshney Place is gearing up to join 10 other shopping centres across the country, raising money for charity with a special cycle challenge this weekend. The first One Great Day event starts tomorrow, which will see competitors try and cycle 188 miles over 2 days, equivalent to the distance between the mall and London's Great Ormond Street Hospital. The money raised will be split 50-50 between them and local cause St Andrew's Children's Hospice.
Yeah, we're going to take it in turns to try and get there, but there is a challenge. So the first team that get there will get a prize, and the team that cycle the most in an hour will also get a prize, and then the team that raised the most money, there's another prize.
That's all from me. Bye for now.
This week marks the 30th anniversary of Volunteers Week. It's something many people do in some way or another. We sent Dave Nunn, himself a volunteer, to find out about the volunteers who work in the YMCA's charity shop in Grimsby.
The YMCA's volunteers come from a mixture of backgrounds, but all share a common goal through their volunteering: to work for the good of fellow people in the community while doing some work experience to better themselves in later life.
It allows us to give opportunities to young people who are looking for volunteering opportunities in the area, and to give them a chance to see what it's like in a working environment, and that they can help out the vulnerable young people in our projects.
I just wanted experience in doing something differently, and I thought the YMCA would be a good opportunity as it deals with homeless people and vulnerable people. So just meeting different people and seeing them move on really, and being part of it.
So I've volunteered with the YMCA before, obviously as part of Volunteers Week as well. I wanted to come help out at the shop here on the Willows estate.
We're gaining the skills of people who perhaps might not think about having a career in the YMCA, but they can come and volunteer for us, and we're gaining a broad skill set of people in different roles across the organisation. It helps us reach out to different partners, and it generates a real community spirit amongst the organisation.
I enjoy it. It's good to help out, and I think that the YMCA as an organisation, do a great deal of good work around here, and up and down the country as well.
We have the 3 housing projects in Grimsby, so we'll have volunteers usually at all those doing youth work and support work, and we also have general admin work, so there's quite a broad range spectrum of volunteering opportunities available.
The charity shop is a big benefit to the overall ethos of the YMCA. The profits made in the shop by the volunteers goes directly back into the YMCA, funding housing projects run in the local area which house young people and help them gain experience in an education.
Volunteers Week is a chance for people to recognise and celebrate the contribution of all volunteers and the difference they make to our community. In North East Lincolnshire, Vanel works with organisations to help them with the whole process in getting volunteers in the door. Joining me is their Chief Officer, Paula Grant. Paula, welcome to the show. Obviously, 30th anniversary of Volunteers Week. Why should people volunteer?
It's a great opportunity to put something back into the community where you live. Often people who've lived in an area for a long time, when they retire, they don't want to give up putting things into their community. They still want to offer their skills and experience for the benefit of people around them.
And do you find that within North East Lincolnshire you get a lot of people contacting you saying, I want to volunteer, but who needs my skills?
Absolutely. We have over 1,000 people come through the volunteer centre every year, and they range from younger people in schools who want an experience through the uniform groups, teenagers looking for opportunities to get some work experience in a centre but through voluntary opportunities, and university students that are looking for something to help them with their degree as well, right up to retired people who, as I said earlier, are looking to give back something to the community they live in.
What types of groups out there then look for volunteers? I mean, are we talking, a wide cross-section? Is it like companies to maybe, I don't know, a community group in a village?
Absolutely. The volunteering is as wide a variety of different opportunities as the people themselves. I mean, whatever people like to give their time, and if it's something to do with health, if they've had a sad family experience on a health front, people like to give something back to, say, the British Heart Foundation, for example, or Cancer Collaborative, or if they've had an experience with a relative who's had that kind of unfortunate experience with a bad health, and they want to do fundraising to help overcome those difficulties. There's obviously obviously sports groups, people who participate in sport need to keep the sports groups alive and running, obviously for their own benefit, but for benefit of other people, and to encourage a lot of them going to coaching and training, encouraging other people to get on board. The Friendship at Home groups who look after the elderly, they run lunch clubs, that kind of thing. Often the people volunteering are older than the people who are benefiting from the service they're offering, which is quite interesting.
Now, one thing you said there about time, some people they work full time, but they want to do something, but I think that's always the quibble, isn't it? Have I got time to be a volunteer? I mean, what do you find? Do people expect a huge commitment from a volunteer?
Yeah, I mean, some of the groups obviously are quite specific. They have a volunteering opportunity in mind, they describe it to us, and then we offer that opportunity to people coming through the door or ringing up or making an email inquiry or on the website. But equally, we encourage people who want to just give a small amount of time. It's called micro-volunteering these days. If they just want to give a few hours for an ad hoc piece of work or a contribution they want to make to a fundraising event, that's equally welcome. So it's as like the people themselves, the opportunities that are available are as wide and diverse as the time that people have available to offer. So we try and tailor make what people say, well, I've only got a few hours, so we try and find something they can fit into, or I'd like to give a regular commitment of 2 to 3 hours a week. Again, we'd help them find something that was suitable to meet their requirement.
Because this is it, volunteers, when you look at most organisations, they rely on volunteers, don't they? So do you find some groups do struggle to get people in at all?
Yeah, I mean, the thing that we've been doing, we've just embraced a younger generation of volunteers. We've been encouraging younger team members, people aged between 18 and 25, to join us and use their networks of contacts within the Grimsby Institute, Franklin College and other education establishments across North East Lincolnshire to join in and describe those opportunities in a different way.
Right.
So rather than a traditional, more like a job description we've had in the past, we've tried to make it descriptive and show photographs of the kind of activities that people can get involved with. So it gets more exciting and people are more inspired and enthused to get involved. So I think it's how you describe it as to whether you'd encourage people to come on board.
Because I suppose this is it. If you're volunteering, you've got to want to enjoy whatever it is you're
Absolutely,
volunteering for.
yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Thinking, oh no. Now, one of the things you said there about the age of people, you've got a real cross section from the older types that you say want to give something back.
Absolutely.
Do you find the youngsters are readily there to really, I know you say you're doing some work, but do they sort of like put the hands up and say, yeah, we'll do it? Or do you struggle?
Well, I have done recently because, as I say, by people of the same age group encouraging their own networks and people that they know to come on board and then showing the benefits. I mean, trash and show is something, you know, I've got lots of examples I could quote or take all your time if I gave you them all, but, you know, a trash and show, clothes swapping, discos, anything that the young people are interested in to get a hook, to say, well, if you're interested in that, we'll put some volunteering on around it. So to really go to the person who's willing to give their time freely first and say, what kind of things would you like to do? And then create the opportunity around that, rather than being static and say, well, these are the opportunities we've got. You can go in a charity shop, you can do assisting elderly people, or you can go to a sports club, or you can, you know, do whatever's on offer. The more important thing, I think, from the lessons we've learned over the years is to be more receptive of people coming to you and giving and identifying things with our groups, obviously. They've got to be something that they want to host, creating those opportunities for them.
Brilliant. Well, it's all very busy, so if people are interested, they should contact yourselves.
Absolutely.
Or if there's a group out there that needs somebody, again, you can help.
Certainly we can.
With those negotiations as well.
Yep.
Well, thank you for coming in to talk to us about that. Volunteering, as you can see, it's all very important for people. Well, that's all from us. You can contact us the usual ways, either through our Facebook page or Twitter, or via the phone on Grimsby 01472 315 561. Until tomorrow, join us then when we'll have the sport, and we'll also have Tony Bramley from Shoreline in the studio, who will be talking about those proposals to demolish the high-rise flats in the Freeman Street area of Grimsby. Until then, goodbye.